Hey guys, welcome to another video in the Advanced Combat series. In this video I shall cover parries. I know they can be quite tough to execute, so we'll train against Okatsu and focused on her charged dash attack. It's quite repetitive, and she makes for a great training dummy. I'm going to assume a reaction time of 250 ms. Let's begin the breakdown. Starting with the sword, we begin with Backwave Tempest. It's a timely guard and extremely rewarding. With an average reaction time, block just before if you're close, or react as soon as you hear the swing. In normal situations, hit block slightly before you feel the attack will hit. For Tempest, tap block immediately after you see the knockback. You can generally think of it almost like a person-sized bubble in front of you. If something breaches it, then block. The sword's timely guard minus the knockback and knockdown works on any attack, including yokai attacks, and reduces that attack's key damage to 10. Next up is Haze. While timely guards fall into one major category of parries, Haze envelops the second and largest. Its timing is remarkably similar to the timely guards. Your weakness here will be hesitation. For fast situations, throw out Haze before you feel the attack will occur. Normally use it when you notice the attack start. For slow attacks, use the bubble analogy. As for Haze 2, throw it out immediately once you notice Haze work. This will admittedly take some practice, and it also works on skeletons, flashy animations and all. On to Leaf Glide. Chances are that you won't be using this parry. However, in the event that you do, the timing is virtually the same as with Haze. Unlike Haze, there is no true follow-up. It does not work against small skeletons, but you can attack fairly quickly afterwards. Water Shadow appears to have a different timing due to its animation, but it is still the same as Haze timing. It does more damage than Haze, and also can parry small skeletons. For Water Shadow 2, be sure to throw it out as soon as you notice a fancy animation for Water Shadow. It will take some practice, but in contrast to Haze 2, you have a little extra leeway. Our next parry is the Spear's Twirl. The timing is quite early, and it cements the third major category. Positioning matters here. Be sure to squarely face your enemy. The reaction time you need is 250 ms earlier than Haze, so you need to plan ahead this time around and take risks by parrying earlier. For fast attacks, this will be difficult. For normal attacks, you need to throw out the parry just before you feel the attack is about to happen. For slow attacks, you can afford to just wait until you notice the attack. We transition to Dual Swords and its first parry, Heavenly Flow. The skill has basically the same timing and positioning requirements as Twirl. Although you may not use this parry in favor of the next one, it's still useful to know. Slight caveat to Heavenly Flow. You may notice that it's a bit more generous in its timing compared to Twirl. Despite that, it is entirely safe to associate its timing as the same as Twirl's timing. On to Shrike, the favored dual sword parry. It's the most intuitive one in my opinion. It has a slightly larger parry window than Haze and can be thrown both earlier and later. It's highly beginner friendly. This parry is technically in its own category. It's a minor one at that. Because it's highly intuitive, you can throw it out just before you feel the attack will hit. It might honestly be the best parry to practice with. Next up is Demon Thrust. It has virtually the same timing as Haze, so treat it as such. It fits within the subcategory of block parries. This is not to be confused with Timely Guard. Also, guard key reduction helps immensely in reducing key damage taken from this parry. The final Dual Swords parry is Earthly Flow. It has remarkably early timing, about 300 ms to be precise, and as such it's the least intuitive. You must parry early for this to work. The attack must connect prior to the end of the dodge portion of the parry. A success rewards iframes. It works on most attacks and some grabs. Positioning also doesn't matter, but the parry response may not connect on smaller targets. As for the axe, it has one parry, and it's Spirit Wind. This is yet another block parry and has the same timing as Haze. Don't let the animation fool you. Like other block parries, you can't be knocked out of ki, and guard ki reduction helps deal with ki loss. Spirit Wind also breaks yokai horns quite well. The Kusarigama has its own timely guard. It also has a feature of reducing ki damage taken to 10 from any attack, including from yokai. Unlike the sword's timely guard, there is no fancy follow-up. However, you can initiate low or high stance quicks or pull techniques to start combos. The other parry that Kusarigama has is Waterfall. It has virtually the same timing as Twirl. Sadly, it's not the most useful because it doesn't reward much, except maybe a free pull technique. However, it does at the very least provide a chance to create some distance away from your opponent. Plus, it's frankly hilarious to throw your targets away. Sorry, I meant throw them on the ground. Onto the Odachi. It only has one parry, Cuckoo's Call. It's a block parry with the usual properties and has basically the same timing as Haze does. There is one interesting little feature of Cuckoo's Call. You can throw it out super early and hold it. This can be quite handy against a number of yokai. Next up is Tonfa. The Tonfa has a timely guard that works best on humans. It offers no ki damage reduction against yokai, unlike the other two timely guards. On humans, this timely guard offers a decent follow-up, or you can demon dance out of it into other attacks to keep the pressure on. I've personally used this on all sorts of humanoid bosses. The other Tonfa parry is Thousand Tongues. It has the same timing as Shrike and is a block parry that unfortunately only works on humans. I'll be honest, this parry is pretty bad. It replaces skills that the Tonfa gets much better usage out of. If it worked against yokai, then maybe I'd consider it. The last parry in the game is the barehand parry called Composure. It has a unique timing which is a bit earlier than Haze and slightly later than Twirl. I have to admit, it's pretty funny. If I had to pin a timing down, then I'd say 100 ms before an attack comes out, but that's effectively meaningless. You'll have to get in the habit of throwing this out just before you throw out Haze. It's a reasonably intuitive parry. All you have to do is get used to the clap and keep the timing relative to Haze in mind, and it'll make this easier to pull off. Start with slow enemies, say those with axes. So let's review all that has been covered. There are three major categories of parry timings: timely guard, Haze, and Twirl. Timely guards on average require you to react once you notice the attack. Haze-like parries have similar timings as timely guard, but feel less intuitive because they require an extra button press. Within that, there is a subcategory of block parries. Block parries differ from traditional parries, as they can all be used against yokai to some effect. They greatly benefit from guard ki reduction, and even if you lose all your ki, you cannot be put into an out-of-ki state. Twirl-like parries require an early input and knowledge of enemy attack patterns. This can make this type of parry extra difficult. There are also three minor categories of parry timing: Shrike, Earthly Flow, and Composure. Shrike timing is similar to Haze, but features a larger overall window both before and after. Earthly Flow is slightly earlier than Twirl timing, and Composure is slightly earlier than Haze timing. And that's it. These parries are supremely valuable to use, and they can accentuate your play to a whole other level. I personally incorporate parries into my play all the time, as the reward for pulling off these punishes is immense. I get a kick out of them, and I have no doubt you will too. I hope this guide was informative, yet not overwhelming. I welcome any feedback, and I will most certainly be updating this for Nioh 2. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see everyone next time.